Now, one thing I realized I've never done on the channel is a good old-fashioned and honest Q&A. I recently put up a story on Instagram asking for you guys to submit all your most popular questions, things that you wanted to know about me, my life, the build, past builds, future builds, and everything in between. And well, in true Sam Young fan style, I got inundated. An absolute plethora of questions came through, and in this episode, we're going to be answering as many as we can. Everything ranging from the weight loss journey that you guys seem to be very interested in, to me now living in a crack den, and then also what the plans are with this big girl behind me. So, I reckon we get into it. Everyone seems to be commenting a lot lately on the fact that this car doesn't move much from the crack den that it lives in, and unfortunately that's because it's parked in a crack den. If we take a quick look around, as you can see, this is my decrepit patch of concrete. This is an actual crack den. Lots of cracktivities going on in here. Don't mind that Dometic. That had yogurt in it about 18 months ago that exploded, and I didn't want to clean it, and I haven't cleaned it yet. So that's biohazard. But welcome to my house. In here is like a satanic worshipping room, which is cool. Some old 12-volt gear and bits and pieces. But my favorite feature, a lot of people buy houses and do them up and, you know, renovators' delights and all that sort of thing. The favorite thing that we've done to my crack den is, I'll show you around the front. Don't mind that's my crack car. When we come around here, the frontage, it's my guard dog. My guard dog, Hasbulla. So you break into my house, which someone has, he will kill you. But anyway, shall we dive into the episode? I've got all your questions on my phone. Let's go back to the back of my crack den and we'll get into it. All right, we're gonna kick things off with a very good one, quite a deep one I had to think about, from Jensen, who's got a last name that I've got no hope in hell of ever been able to pronounce, but we'll put it on the screen somewhere around my face. And that, he says, if you had the stock 80 again, would you do anything differently while building it up? The answer, I mean, the short answer is no. I've loved every single thing we've done to this and all the brands that we've worked with. Probably the only thing I would change is just how carried away we got with the expenditure in the build project. This is just such an unattainable car for so many people now that we really could have dialed it back, and even my own bank account would have been really appreciative of that. But that's okay. I think it's been pretty good. Maybe a little bit more forethought around fuel storage and that sort of thing, knowing that we now can barely get 180 kilometers down the road before having to refill another 130 liters, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, you live and learn. You live and learn. So thank you, Jensen, for sending that in. Another one from Max Trito. I don't know. You've all got last names. KFC order? No, it's a triple stacker. Triple stacker zinger, burger, chips, and extra tenders on the side. This next question is from Joey Young 11, and he has said, what's the best key to YouTube growth? And to be honest, Joey, I will have to let you know once I figure it out. I'd say doing an insurance job on your Landcruiser helps. No, I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding. Everyone relax. Get out of the comments. I can see you rushing there now. Relax. I don't know. I don't know what the key to YouTube growth is yet. We're slowly chipping away at it. Probably consistency and high quality edits is what I'd say. But also, I don't know, just have a crack. Start posting. Next question is Kobe Horwood. Now, before I answer this one, take a minute to go down to the comments. I'll actually let you go down to the comments this time and have a guess at the litres per 100. Kobe's asked what the litres per 100 are. 1100 horsepower, ethanol only, 4.5 litre straight six engine, and a 3-ton Landcruiser. I mean, I'm not good at maths, but the maths doesn't math. It's currently using about 65 litres per 100. We've got a 130 litre tank. You can probably do the maths on that. We're getting about 200 Ks. So it would be cheaper to charter a private jet than it would be to drive this thing anywhere in Australia. But that's fine. We love it anyway. Let's move on. This was given to me by @80.hdft. He wrote it on the back, his Instagram handle. He brought me this in Melbourne. And a lot of you pricks out there have just been sending me links to them. They're like, hey bro, you should buy this for your car. One of you actually bought it for me and gave it to me, so I appreciate it. Anyway, where were we? Taylor Angus has asked, when is the Cruiser going to the USA? And the answer is probably never, to be honest. I don't personally really see the appeal in trucking this thing all the way to the USA. My appeal would be flying over there, with Max and Hayden and a whole bunch of blokes, building a couple of ridiculous Jeeps over there with like 42-inch tires that are just outside the guards and absolutely heinous things, and going and wheeling Moab in a car that's built in America for America. Because even a car like this, you take it over there, it's not going to be a very big car. There are Jeeps getting around with like 10 inches of lift, portals, all sorts of business going on. So that's probably the answer to that one. Next question, Tomahawk 6995. Suspicious name. When are you taking the 80 for its first wheel in its new form? That is a great question, my friend. Even though this car may look relatively complete from the outside, and it's driving to events and it's doing all these things, and it drives on and off a trailer, and it's sitting here looking like a nice finished thing, it is so far off being able to be wheeled, it's not funny. I'll give you a couple of examples. No front shaft. The rear shaft is still factory. Still doesn't have an auto in it. No inner guards. The rear isn't boxed in. Still has no sway bars. The alternator is currently completely and utterly on the fritz. There's a lot still needing to be done. We don't even have flex tune set up yet. So we're limited to ethanol only and like 65 litres per 100. So to answer that question, that's probably the biggest one, is when are you going to see this thing off-road and where? Once we get all that stuff sorted, which is going to probably cost me another 100 grand, another 6 months of my life, once that's all done, then we can start thinking about where to take this thing on a trip. My original dream was going to be Fraser or Morton, somewhere where we could get some sick shots and, you know, cruise around, and most importantly, it's really close to servos and also help when it all goes pear-shaped. But the other side of that is now we're sort of thinking maybe this car is going to be better off being a off-road only, unregistered race truck of sorts for events like Cliffhanger. And if that is the case, then it will obviously be very much in the same form, but with a cage on the inside, and we'll go race it around the country, which would be super, super sick. But we haven't got that far yet. But when we get there, I'll let you know. The exciting thing is you'll get to come along for the ride for this entire build of actually trying to finish this thing and getting it to a point where it can be driven properly off-road and or even raced. On to the next thing. Next question is from One Big Kid 03. How come you left the taillights stock? Are you f***ing okay? These are not standard. These are eBay's finest. But anyway, I digress. Next question is from Paul Bendon. And he has asked, what did I originally want to do as a kid? Did I study anything after school?
Who invited?
Now, through school and sort of just after school, I actually always wanted to be a paramedic. There's no word of a lie. Straight after school, I actually went to uni and studied nursing before realizing that I don't hate myself that much and that I was never going to put myself through years and years more of tertiary education. And coincidentally, as I decided that nursing really wasn't going to be for me, I got that job at Sparesbox, and then anyway, that occupied all my time in life, and then that turned into a full-time role, and then I eventually, 12 months of deferring from uni turned into 24 months of deferring, and then I never went back. That's okay. That's okay. I have no regrets. But if you do need any basic first aid, or you need to know how to make a hospital spec bed, you let me know. You let me know. The next question is from Christian3034, and he asked, would I do a cheap budget 4x4 build series? It's funny you should ask this. Abso-freaking-lutely, I would love to do a budget build series. I almost was going to say, this was originally when I bought this car, almost going to be a budget build series, and then we said, fuck it, let's spend $250,000 on it. I think a budget build series would be really cool. I don't particularly want to do any weird and wacky things like what the guys have been doing with Pajeros and Delikas and all that sort of thing. I think doing a basically modified touring GQ or 60 or something like that would be really, really sick, because they're still cheap, but they're still good off-road. You can do a whole bunch of basic stuff to them and make them really cool, really quirky. Something like that would be super sick. And definitely something I'm looking to do towards the end of this year, the start of next year. But we're going to be doing it with a bit of a twist. We're going to put a lot of decision-making power in your guys' hands. Now, I'll let you think, what you will of that. But it's going to be a very exciting time, that's for sure. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and that sort of thing, because when your time comes to have your say, you're really going to have to hook in. Otherwise, you're going to be a sad, miserable boy like I am, and trust me, you don't want it. Next question, Cage Masters. He wants to know, why did I go with 37? This is an interesting question. I think most people probably would now agree that 33s are like the new 31s, 35s are the new 33s, and 37s are the new 35s. I think that's the case. Pretty much all off-road tracks around Australia have been dug up and by 35s, 37s or bigger. If you don't go a big tyre, you're gonna have a hard time off-road. I think the jump between a 37 and a 40 is a big amount, like it's a huge amount. To fit that in the back of a wagon, in the front of a wagon, in the back of anything is a nightmare. To fit them on spare wheel carriers, a nightmare. And also 40s are just that little bit taller and sort of start to make things a little bit more unstable. Whereas with this car, you can probably tell we sort of went for the lower and wider approach. We've had great success with 37s, specifically the Maxxis Trepidors on pretty much every vehicle before this. So it was a no-brainer. KP Belt has sent through 2 questions. One is, do I know Ben's N70? And trust me, I know Ben's N70 intimately. Second is $2 sucky sucky. Mate, $2 is $2. I'll do anything for that. Todd Mods has asked, why is Sam Miles always jealous of my sheer sexual satisfaction? Mate, that is a great question. I think there's a lot of people that are always going to be jealous of my sheer sexual satisfaction. But the truth is, you just have to have a really good, close bond with your uncle at Christmas, and you'll be constantly sexually satisfied. So that's probably my biggest takeaway from that. What else have we got in here? God, we got so many good questions. It's sort of hard to choose. This one's from Matthew._private_. Maybe the government's after him. I'm not sure. He has asked, if you got the original Naughty 40 back, what would I do with it? Now, I'd probably just do what every YouTube channel seems to be doing and give it away. No, I'm kidding. F that. If I had the original Naughty 40 back, I would probably put a Turbo FZ in it. Silly question, really, and turn it into a Tourer, which I know seems a little bit ridiculous given, you know, the Bob chassis and it's a single cab ute and all that sort of thing. But I think if you put a slightly longer tray than what I had on there, a nice canopy and a rooftop tent, that thing would be an absolutely sick Tourer. Still had quite mild suspension, had 37s, had some nice bar work and that sort of stuff on it. This car would be the obnoxious race car thing, and the Naughty 40 would be like a cute little Tourer. So that's probably what I'd do there. Now this question's a good one, and probably one that a lot of people, I know a lot of people have been asking. Every time I post a weigh-in online, people are asking me for advice and that sort of thing. And this is from Callum Greer 33 or Greer 33, I don't know. All your Instagram usernames are whack. What made you start the journey in the gym, and how's it all going, basically, is what a lot of these questions are. What made me start it was just, I think I woke up one day, looked at the scale, didn't like the number I saw, I was like, okay, I really have to do something about this. And I'm fortunate enough to be doing a job, working for myself in a career where I have extreme flexibility in my days. It means I can train in the morning, I can run at lunch, I can train at night, and I can fit the work in around my training schedule, which is obviously almost impossible to do if you're working full time. So I do sympathize and empathize with you guys that are trying to do all that. But I think, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is getting into it. I just saw a number on the scale that was just getting absolutely ridiculous and really knew I had to do something about it. I also fell in love with boxing, and obviously boxing, you need to be fit, you need to be strong, you need to be mobile and agile. So we started focusing a lot of training around that sort of stuff as well, with the end goal ultimately being to fight, hopefully in 2024, but we'll sort of see how that all goes. Callum didn't ask this, but I will try and touch on this as well. We've lost 32 kilos in about 4 months. This is not sustainable, nor do I recommend it to anyone. And I know a lot of people are asking this, so I'm answering it in this video. I basically don't eat, and I basically spend my entire day training. That's how I've done it, but I can only do that because I'm lucky enough to be having the flexibility in my life to do so. So take everything I ever say online with a grain of salt. It's not always going to be for everyone. You can do what I'm doing over a 2-year process. It doesn't matter as long as you start. Get in the gym, start eating cleaner, you know, cut back on the booze a bit. It's all going to help. You don't have to go out and rush like I did. So hopefully that helps you guys. Anyway, ethanol. Graceful. I've got a couple more good questions before we wrap this bad one up. The first one, Caleb Rammy? Caleb Rammy. You're not making my life easy, guys. Why don't I have a snorkel on the 80? Well, as you can see, we have barely even got an intake pipe sorted yet, let alone the inner guards, let alone an airbox, and then let alone a snorkel. We are a long way off getting a snorkel fitted to this car. So just relax, everyone. We'll get there, but we have to do everything in the process so that it makes sense. And obviously, if we put a snorkel on now, we don't really know where we're going to want it to come into the guards. We don't know where to run the piping. We don't know how we're going to be running the airbox yet. We don't even know if we're going to be able to run an airbox. There's a lot still to do. Next question, Jaden Cowans. He has asked a very 1FZ specific question, and that is, hey Sam, not a Q&A, but also thought I'd ask, where did you get your distributor block-off cover from? Now, that is assuming that this engine is out of the original car. An 80 series 1FZ is a distributor ignition setup. A 105 1FZ is a coil plug ignition setup. This engine is actually out of a 105, so it doesn't have a distributor, never did. I believe HD Auto, Max and the team are working on a distributor cover delete sort of thing, and for a coil and plug ignition setup for 80 series 1FZs. I do not believe otherwise though there is an option at the moment. That's how we got around that whole little ignition schmozzle. Another question from B_Ramage. He asks, will I ever be on full drive 24/7 again? That's a very easy answer. No. Not because there's any animosity, but because you just have to pay to play. It's an advertising thing, it's a sponsorship thing. You know, you pay to be on the show, you pay to advertise. I don't have a product to advertise, I'm a personality myself. I guess the easy answer to that is no, probably never gonna be back on that show. But Sean and I do get along, we chat, we compliment each other on our cute little 80 series builds and that sort of thing. And you know, it's all sort of buddy and fun. The final question in this elaborate net of questions that I have is Travi_CO7. I'm probably butchering all these. If you didn't build an 80 series, what other car would I have gone with? Not a lot of people know this. The people that are close to me probably do, but before the Naughty 40 was stolen, the plan was actually going to be finish that car, put the new engine in it, and then build something else. Build something that was a turnkey tourer, that was a little bit more subtle, and could fly under the radar. And that build was going to be a 4.8 petrol Series 4 GU Patrol turboed, 2-inch lift, 35, a bed in the back, super simple. Obviously then the car got stolen and that entire plan basically went out the window. But I do definitely have a soft spot for Series 4 GU Patrols, the big wagons. That being said, now that I've built this absolutely ridiculous thing, I am definitely thinking about the next project car that's going to be coming along to the channel. What I'm leaning towards is an old Nissan. A little bit of diversity. I know it's going to cut up a lot of Toyota fans out there, but I think an old Nissan could be fun. Of course, I'm going to be doing a little Sam Young spin on it. It's not just going to be any old Nissan Patrol or Nissan Navara or, you know, other Nissan project. It's going to have my flair to it. But I'm not going to give away much more than that. That's sort of where we're at with other project cars. Otherwise, I don't know, a GU Ute would be cool. An old Hilux, all sorts of things would be really cool to do, but it's obviously hard to try and find something that's unique, hasn't been done to death, or something that we can actually raise the bar for that we've done. With this 80 series, I like to think this has raised the bar for Landcruiser builds in Australia, if not globally, from a fit and finish and execution point of view. So we want to keep that theme going with the channel and keep raising the bars of everything we touch and build. Yeah, a lot to think about. Maybe if you've got a suggestion or what you may want to see get built on the channel, drop a comment below, let me know. I'm definitely open to suggestions, because I think the end of 2023, start of 2024 is going to be the season for a new build. Maybe something that's a little bit easier to keep registered. Plans for the future, what the plans were for the past, the gym, the weight loss, the new build and everything in between. I reckon we've covered it just about all in this episode. You guys, as always, have been a fantastic audience. On Instagram, you sent in hundreds of questions and it was very tricky to narrow it down to some that sort of summarized what most people wanted to know. But if you've liked this little bit of an insight into my life, the car, the plans and the future, maybe we can do another round of Q&As in a month or two's time and keep you guys updated. As always, make sure you like and subscribe, drop a comment, share this to all your mates or your mother or your auntie or your dog. I don't care, share it around. We need more people on the bloody channel, guys. And yeah, appreciate you being here. We'll see you next week.